I am the third owner of this motorcycle, and the previous owner, he only had the motorcycle for about a year, and then decided to sell it. He actually bought himself a I think he had like a Vulcan or something like that, but yeah, he decided to sell this one, and he really didn't ride it that much over the course of a year. But what was really surprising to me, what was really honestly shocking to me, was how little he knew about this bike. How little he knew about Goldwings in general. And I'm not an expert, you know. I mean, I'm learning myself. I'm learning about this motorcycle and about Goldwings in general. But I at least have done some research, you know what I mean? And prior to even purchasing the motorcycle, you know, I did I think a fair amount of research just to at least to know about the motorcycle and what are the basics of the motorcycle, you know, like what, you know, how many cylinders the motorcycle has, how many gears the motorcycle has, the weight, you know, things like that, you know, the basics. And this guy, man, it's surprising, it's shocking to me that he owned the motorcycle for a year and didn't know some of the basics of this motorcycle. I'm not saying I'm any better than him or whatever, you know, but I just approach it differently. Maybe other people are the same way and they don't really, you know, look into the specs of a motorcycle or whatever machine they have, their car or whatever. But for me, I almost have to, you know, I feel like I've got to know at least some of the basics. Like, so for example, the guy didn't know that that this big old fairing here in the front was an aftermarket fairing. And, you know, that's not a big deal or whatever, you know, I mean, I'm not putting him down for that or whatever, but, you know, it's kind of at least well known with these early machines that before Honda came out with any of their big fairings themselves, you know, it was the aftermarket world that created these big fairings and windshields and all that sort of stuff. And this was made by the Vetter company, as you can see right here. It says Vetter, but the Vetter company, you know, made these big, you know, made these big fairings and windshields and everything, and put them on the machines. And, you know, I mean, it was kind of a big market for them. But, you know, this was aftermarket. He thought that this was Honda that did this. I'm like, no, man. I mean, it's the Vetter company, and it's a windjammer fairing is what it is. And he didn't realize that. But, you know, that's not that big of a deal or whatever. But he did. Here's one thing that I don't know how you cannot know this. This right here is not a real gas tank, you know? This is actually a faux gas tank, a fake gas tank, man. It's a dummy tank is what it is. The real gas tank on this machine sits under the seat. And that's partly what made this motorcycle so interesting, is that the motor sits real low, that the gas tank sits under the seat, and so the center of gravity is really sort of pulled down low and pulled towards the center of the bike, which that's part of the reasons why this machine handles so well. It really does. It's just a great handling bike, man. But he didn't know that the gas, he was trying to tell me. I was like, so where do you put the fuel in, you know? And he was showing me where to put the gas in, and he's like, yeah, and the gas tank's here and this and that. I'm like, you know, I think it actually flows towards the back, doesn't it? Towards under the seat. He's like, nope, it's right here. I was like, okay, well, and I didn't argue with him, you know. It's like, all right, man. Like, he didn't know that this was a fake gas tank. But here's another thing. This was totally shocking. The dude didn't know that this bike was a 5-speed bike, man. He told me when I took it out for a test ride, he's like, yeah, and it's 4 speeds and this and that. And I asked him, I was like, 4 speeds? He's like, yeah, it's a 4-speed bike. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, it's a 4-speed bike. And I was like, okay, well, and maybe he was thinking that it's like 1 down, first gear is down, and then 2, 3, 4, 5 is up. Maybe that's what he was thinking. I don't know. Maybe he was thinking something like that. But that certainly is, you know, it's certainly not a 4-speed bike. Like, I would never call this machine a 4-speed bike, man. It's 5 speeds. So that's shocking to me. If you spent any time on the bike, you would know that it's actually 5 speeds. I mean, I don't know. I was just really, I was surprised. I was shocked. I was kind of floored at how little he knew about the bike. I mean, there were other things that he just didn't know. Like, I asked him about the, about these crash bars that are around the motor itself, around the engine, and if they actually scrape, you know, when you're going around a corner or not. He didn't know that, you know. And if you just kind of felt around the crash bar itself, you could see that they actually have been scraped. I mean, they do scrape. I haven't scraped them just because I've just been very, very careful not to. But yeah, that was one of my questions. You know, he didn't know, and he was trying to lean the bike over to show me and all this sort of. It was crazy, man. But I don't know. It just made me think about maybe just how I approach owning a motorcycle versus other people. And I'm not saying that the way I approach it is better than anyone else. It's just different, I guess. You know, I tend to know, or I tend to read up and to study and really just get to know the motorcycle really, really well, you know, before I actually, or before and during ownership, you know, things like this is a 79, and, you know, this is the last year of this model, this shape and style like that. After this, then they changed things up in 1980, and I'm sure he didn't know that stuff either, man. But I don't know. I know this sounds like I'm dissing on the guy, man. I mean, but I just approach it very, very differently, I guess. And so, I don't know. That's just me. But I don't know. How do you guys do? You know, I mean, people who are watching this video, I mean, do you guys get to know your motorcycles up close and personal? Or do you just kind of just ride it and just don't worry about any of that other stuff? You're like, man, I don't need to know how many cylinders or how many gears it has. I just ride my motorcycle. Maybe other people do the same thing. So anyway, let me know, man. Let me know. Anyway, with that, my friends, my people, continue to ride with confidence, head up 100%. Yeah, this is SoopaBee.